Welcome to the Empowered Money Girl, where we break down the barriers to financial confidence, celebrate women's wins, and reveal the secrets to living boldly and well. I'm your host, Josette Mandela. Today's episode is a little different. I had a guest scheduled and will be rescheduling that conversation due to an unexpected situation. And as I was thinking about what to do instead, I realized this was actually the perfect opportunity to share something more personal with you. Because one of the things I hear all the time from women is, I make good money, but I feel unclear about it. I feel like I should have figured this out by now, but I don't. And the truth is, that was me too. So today it's just you and me. I've been the woman who thought she had her life figured out, believed she'd found her version of Prince Charming, who thought the future was set. I've also been the woman sitting in the reality of divorce and bankruptcy, looking at my life thinking, how did I get here? Now I'm the woman who feels clear, confident, and in control of her money. And what changed wasn't what most people think. Now, there was a time in my life when everything looked like it was falling into place. I was a professional woman, accomplished in my career. I had an MBA and a seemingly stable personal life. The relationship, the beautiful home, that sense of well-ordered existence. It all contributed to a feeling of undeniable security. I believed I was building the life I was supposed to have, following a script that promised comfort and predictability. And if I'm being honest with you, a part of what I believed, without ever saying it out loud, maybe even not to myself, was that I'm safe, that I didn't have to carry the full weight of financial planning and responsibility, that certain things would simply be handled by virtue of my partnership, that the future was, taken care of. It was a comfortable, albeit naive assumption that allowed me to delegate a significant portion of my financial clarity to an external source. Many of us, particularly professional women juggling demanding careers and personal lives, fall into this trap. We're experts in our fields, but perhaps less so in our personal financial architecture. In my story, I thought I'd married Prince Charming. He presented himself as capable, knowledgeable, ready to handle the practicalities of our shared life, including the finances. And me, in my trust and perhaps my own unconscious desire to offload a complex area, readily abdicated that responsibility. I stepped back, assuming everything was being managed with competence and foresight. And then life did what, life sometimes does. That unexpected plot twist. My Prince Charming suddenly transformed into a toad in a tuxedo. The marriage ended. And what came with it wasn't just that profound emotional upheaval of separation. It was a stark, undeniable financial reality that hit me like a tidal wave. I discovered that not only had I entrusted my financial future to someone who was not Prince Charming, he was also not a good money manager. Unpaid credit card bills, neglected accounts, a landscape of financial disarray that I'd been completely shielded from. Or perhaps I'd allowed myself to be shielded from. The bottom line was so dire, my lawyer, looking at the wreckage, suggested the unthinkable. Oh, just declare bankruptcy. He framed it as a path to freedom, a way to wipe the slate clean, start fresh. And in that moment of overwhelm, it felt like my only option. But what I was told was a path to freedom led to a decade of struggle, gnawing guilt, and a pervasive sense of shame that shadowed my every financial decision or lack thereof. It was a seismic shift that forced me to confront a fundamental question. Who is truly responsible for my financial destiny? That's when I learned something that I now say often, not as judgment, but as a hard-won truth. A man is not a financial plan. I don't say that with malice or bitterness. I say it with profound clarity of experience. Because I lived what happened when you don't fully have your own clarity, your own structure, your own unwavering sense of control over your financial narrative. The bitter truth was that my reliance on another and his subsequent mismanagement nearly cost me everything. Now, this isn't just about romantic partners. It extends to relying on a job, an inheritance, or any external factor as your sole source of security. True financial independence, true resilience comes from cultivating your internal financial strength. It's about designing your own economy, regardless of who else is in your life or what the market is doing. As you can imagine, there was a lot of emotion in that season. Confusion, certainly. Embarrassment, oh my God. A quiet, persistent kind of fear that gnawed at me. And also, this thought kept coming up. I should have known better. The weight of those 10 years of struggle, guilt, and shame were immense. There was that constant internal battle, that little voice in my head playing over and over and over again all my past mistakes and the precariousness of my situation. Here I was, a woman with an MBA. I built a successful career in finance. I understood complex balance sheets, market trends, investment strategies for corporations. And yet, here I was, being advised to declare personal bankruptcy. Trust me, the irony was not lost on me. It felt like a profound disconnect between my professional prowess and my personal vulnerability. Underneath it all, the real truth was I didn't actually have clarity in my personal finances. Sure, I had the knowledge and I had a decent income. I didn't have a grounded, intentional, and intimately understood relationship with my own money. I was outsourcing my security even when I was earning well. And without that deep personal engagement, without the intentionality, I was essentially guessing. I was reacting to circumstances rather than proactively creating my financial reality. This is a crucial distinction, especially for high-achieving women who are accustomed to being in control of every other area of their life. Take a moment and think about that. Are you truly in control of your money, or are you just good at earning it? Now, the turning point for me was not dramatic. There wasn't this sudden, blinding flash of insight where everything instantly made sense. It was much quieter, more insidious, and yet ultimately far more powerful. It was the moment I realized no one is coming to fix this for me. The 10 years of struggle had reinforced this truth again and again. Initially, that thought might sound discouraging, even lonely. But for me, it wasn't. It was profoundly empowering because it meant that the power to change my situation, the power to reclaim my financial future, rested squarely and completely with me. Now, that was the ultimate realization of agency. It meant that if nothing changes, nothing changes. But if I change, everything can change. And that was the moment I stopped waiting for an external solution to show up in my life and started building an internal one. It was the moment I decided to become the architect of my own financial resilience. This realization led to a small, almost timid step. I decided it was time to start saving for my future, to put something, anything away for myself. So I decided to contribute to my 401k at work. I felt I could afford 2% of my paycheck. It felt like a monumental decision, wrought with fear. I remember filling out the online form, my finger hovering over that submit button, my heart pounding. I was scared I had made a mistake and that I was about to plunge myself into even deeper financial strain. I hit the button and waited with dread for that first paycheck after the change. To my other surprise, that first paycheck was higher than the previous one. Now, don't get excited. It wasn't much, just a couple of dollars. But I stared at that paycheck, convinced there had to be a mistake. How could contributing to my 401k increase my take-home pay? And that's when I discovered the difference before tax and after tax deductions. That was a revelation, a small technical detail that suddenly made a world of difference. This wasn't some grand financial maneuver. It was simple, practical understanding that unlocked a whole new level of confidence for me. After that, I felt more empowered and secure in making small financial decisions, realizing that understanding even the smallest of details could lead to unexpected positive outcomes. This tiny victory was the spark that ignited my financial reclamation. So let's talk about what actually changed, because this is the part that truly matters. These aren't just theoretical concepts. These are the actionable shifts that transformed my relationship with money and can do the same for you. First, I stopped looking at my numbers. I'd just been ignoring them, So I stopped the avoidance and started looking. Now, this wasn't a sudden, perfect transformation, but it was consistent, sometimes uncomfortable, ultimately liberating process. For so long, I'd operated under a vague sense of my financial situation. It was kind of easier to ignore the bank statements, to gloss over the reports, to avoid the precise accounting of my spending. Maybe you're thinking the same thing. And maybe you had the same reason. For me, it was because fear of judgment, fear of what I might find, probably fear of confirming my deepest insecurities was the biggest thing that kept me paralyzed. But the clarity didn't come from being good at money in an abstract sense. It really comes from being willing to look. It comes from facing the facts, no matter how daunting they seem. It's about cultivating that radical honesty with your financial reality. This means opening every statement, tracking every dollar, understanding every debt, acknowledging every asset. It's about moving from a state of deliberate ignorance to one of empowered observation. What gets measured gets managed. And what gets looked at can finally be understood and transformed. So are you truly looking at your numbers or simply hoping they'll take care of themselves? The next thing I did, I had to let go of shame. And this was a profound process. Shame is a corrosive emotion that thrives in secrecy and self-blame. It kind of sounds like this. I should have done that differently. I should have known better. How could somebody with my background be in this situation? Shame keeps you stuck, paralyzed in a loop of regret and inaction. It tells you that your past mistakes define your future. My decade of guilt and shame stemming from that bankruptcy suggested weighed heavily on me. Ownership, however, sounds entirely different. Ownership sounds like, this is mine to understand. This is mine to change. It's a powerful declaration of responsibility, not blame. You acknowledge your past without letting it dictate your present or your future. That shift from shame to ownership is a fundamental pivot from victimhood to agency. It's recognizing that while you can't change the past, you absolutely have the power to alter your trajectory from this moment forward. When you own your financial situation, you reclaim your power to shape it. The third thing I did is I stopped equating income with security, because I had lived proof they're not the same thing. I had a high income, but it wasn't translating into lasting security or genuine wealth. Many accomplished professionals earn significant salaries and find themselves in this perpetual cycle of spending and earning and spending and earning, and not really building a substantial financial foundation. Wealth is fundamentally different from income. Wealth is what you keep. It's the portion of your income you intentionally save and protect. It's what you grow. It's those investments you make that appreciate over time. working for you even when you're not actively working. What you direct. It's the strategic allocation of your resources towards your long-term goals and values. No one has ever truly taught me how to think this way. My financial education, like many, focused on earning and managing debt, not on the strategic accumulation and preservation of capital. So I had to learn. I immersed myself in understanding assets, investments, passive income streams, and the principles of compounding. Now, this wasn't about deprivation. It was about intelligent design and strategic deployment of resources. I wanted to build a financial fortress, not a temporary structure. So I'm going to ask you a question. Are you building true wealth, or are you just optimizing your income? Finally, I stopped reacting and started deciding. Before my life fell apart, money felt like something that was happening to me. Bills arrived, expenses emerged, unexpected costs arose, and I would react, often feeling overwhelmed and behind. My financial life felt like a series of fires to put out, rather than a garden to cultivate. After this shift, money became something I was actively directing. It was a tool, a resource, a canvas upon which I could paint my desired future. So I had to move from a passive stance to an active one. That involved creating a clear financial vision, setting specific goals, designing a budget that served my values, and making conscious choices about every dollar. Even small decisions, like consciously allocating a portion of my income to savings or investments, understanding the impact of a 401k contribution on my take-home pay, started to build incredible confidence and momentum. So this is about being the CEO of your own financial life, making those deliberate choices that align with your ultimate vision. The biggest shift of all, the culmination of these internal and external transformations, is the identity shift. Before, I was someone that didn't understand money and was always struggling with it. After, I became someone who handles money well. Not perfectly, because perfection is an illusion and an unnecessary burden. But I do it intentionally, consistently, and with profound awareness. This wasn't just about changing my habits. It was about changing who I believed myself to be in relation to money. I moved from someone who was bad with money or financially uncertain to someone who was financially capable, resilient, and sovereign. This identity shift permeates every decision, every interaction, and every opportunity. It's about stepping into my full power as a woman who not only earns well, but also manages, grows, and directs her resources with confidence and clarity. Now, if you're listening to this and thinking, I've been relying on things working out. I make good money, but I don't feel secure. I avoid looking because I'm afraid what I'll see. I want you to hear this clearly from one woman to another. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are simply navigating a world that often fails to equip professional women with the precise tools and frameworks for true financial sovereignty. You were just never taught how to fully stand in your own financial clarity, to build your own robust financial architecture. But that ends now. Your past doesn't dictate your potential. Your current uncertainty doesn't negate your inherent ability. So, how do you begin this journey? Start small. Don't try to haul everything at once. Pick one area. My 2% 401k contribution and the small discovery that followed was my tiny first step that changed everything. Look at your numbers without judgment. Open that statement, log into that account. Just observe. The truth, even if uncomfortable, is always the first step toward freedom. Find one place that feels unclear. Is it your credit card debt, your investments, your monthly spending? Focus on clarifying one aspect and make one intentional decision this week. It could be setting up an automatic transfer to savings, reviewing a subscription, or simply tracking your lunch expenses. That's how this begins. One intentional step at a time, building momentum and confidence. Financial clarity isn't about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about no longer outsourcing your sense of security, your peace of mind, or your future potential to external forces or other people. It's about reclaiming your inherent power. And if my story shows you anything, from believing I married Prince Charming only to finding myself facing bankruptcy and a decade of struggle, to finally understanding the power of a simple 401k contribution can serve as a beacon to you, it's this. You can go from believing someone else is the plan to becoming the plan. You are capable. You are resilient. Your financial sovereignty awaits. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. If you found value in this conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the Empowered Money Girl with your friends. The more we spread these stories, the more women we can empower to live boldly, both financially and in every part of life. Until next time, keep thriving. And remember, your journey to empowerment starts with you.